You are listening to I Am Refocused Radio with your host, Shamaya Reed. This show is designed to inspire you to live your purpose and regain your focus. And now, here's your host, Shamaya Reed.
Hey, welcome to I Am Refocused Radio. We are here once again today. Man, we have another amazing show lined up for y'all today. We have a special guest, Michaela S. She is a multi-published author. She's a speaker. She writes and she speaks on diverse topics. And man, she has an amazing story. Today's topic is all about overcoming, empowering, motivation, and inspiration. So first and foremost, we're going to learn a little bit more about Michaela. I want to welcome you to the show. Michaela, say how you doing?
How are you? I'm doing great. Thanks for having me. Hope you're having a good day, everyone.
Appreciate that. Thank you so much. So yeah, man, tell the audience a little bit about yourself.
I am Michaela S. and I am, as you say, a multi-published author. I currently have 9 books out in the world. I'm constantly working on something else. So there's one in an editor right now, one in a formatter, and I'll be writing some new drafts coming up soon. I do write on a diverse variety of topics. I have 5 series out on various different things. I like to share my message and my story. I feel like even though I've had an interesting life that's been filled with a lot of variety of challenges, that I'm supposed to share it. And so that's why I'm here, and I'm going to share my message and what I've learned and what's it all been about.
You also have a website, heartfeltmeditations.com. And
correct.
Like you said, you have various books that you publish on Amazon, anywhere you can find a book. Congratulations on that. And you have a touching story too as well. You experienced some loss, but that has kept you still kept you in positions to be able to inspire people. So if you could tell us a little bit of that story.
I call it my 38 triple D, not anything to do with my physical appearance. It's about a journey of going from surviving to thriving, and it involves a lifelong disability of legal blindness. My whole life, divorced at 26 back in 2005. And then in 2017, at the age of 38, I lost my husband at the time. I did get married after getting divorced, and he was the love of my life. And we lost him, and my babies were 6 and 3 at the time. So I've been solo parenting for the last 5.5 years, along with widowhood and grief and doing all the things that I've been busy doing. So I feel like it's taught me a lot, and I feel like I've had a system and a structure that's allowed me to get through not just one, not 2, but all 3 of the Ds of my 38 triple D. And I've been couching it in this idea of finding grace through grief in life. And there's 5 steps that I know I've used that I learned very early on in life with a disability that helped me get through that, keeps me getting through that. And then I was able to, I guess you could say, kind of exercise my muscle and kind of keep practicing those skill sets when I went through my divorce. And then over the last 5.5 years through grief and widowhood. So,
and with all that you've been through, you're doing great things today. You're publishing books, you're speaking, you're being a light in this world. What was the switch, or what was the motivation for you to keep pushing so that you can be in a position where you have a platform that inspires people?
Well, I mean, life is about choices, and where we end up in life is a direct result, I believe, of our string of our choices, right? So if you make one set of choices, you'll probably end up down one path. And then if you made a different set of choices, you would probably end up in a totally different direction. Life, I feel like, is very much can be represented through a small, simple object like a door, okay? And so when we're traveling our journey through life, we come across these doors. We don't know what's on the other side of them until we open that door. But we get to choose when we come across a door, are we going to leave it shut? Are we going to open it? Or are we going to slam it shut again if we don't like what we got? And so because we may not know what's on the other side of that door, what we're going to receive or choose not to receive, we don't get to choose necessarily what comes our way. but we do get to choose what we do with that. And that's kind of how I've thought about my life. I didn't choose the disability. I was born that way. I had no say in it. It's not fixable. I did choose to walk away from my first marriage, but what caused that to be the result, I did not choose. It was his choices. And I dang sure didn't choose to lose the love of my life at 38 and have to raise two kids on my own and then be without their father ever since the age of 6 and 3. What I do get a choice in is how I handle all of those situations. And that's kind of where I feel like my process has come into play. What's allowed me to work on striving to survive, and thrive, and not just take it and say, okay, that's it, I'm done. I'll be a victim, which I'm not a victim. I never have been a victim, but choosing that option. And I've always worked to choose not to choose that option, if that makes any sense.
Yes, it does. And that leads up to your book as well. What are some of the things that you cover?
I'm in the process. I have completed what I'm calling Finding Grace Through Grief, a guide to unlocking the keys to going from surviving to thriving, is where I present my system, which is what I call and what I have described as the G in grace is grounding, having a strong foundation to steady you in life's storms, the things you look to that you believe in and that you hold to. For me, it's faith. I'm not sure of your background or your audience background, but I'm a Christian and I'm a believer. And so I hold to that as what steadied me through all of these D's or doors that I've had to go through in life. The R would be the idea of redesigning, daring to be your own direction and redefining what your life will look like after you go through a storm and creating it for yourself and being defining it for yourself, because you don't have to be defined by your circumstances. You can choose to define it for yourself. And that's what I've done, or try and do anyway, working on it. It's work in progress, right?
Right.
The A is for what I like to think of as learning to live in abundance as far as your mindset, because we all know that mindset is a game changer. It's mind over matter, right?
Mm-hmm.
If you think it, you can do it. If you think you can't do it, then you can't do it. So, and sometimes I think that's the bigger struggle, is how we manage our mindset and our mental space and our mental well-being. So I think that's a huge piece of any puzzle and any journey of trying to go from surviving to thriving, is how you manage your mindset and what you tell yourself and what you believe and what your point of view is. Are you someone who's look for the silver linings and the rainbows after the storms, or more positive or more negative, or a pessimist versus a optimist, or, whatever, fill in the blank, half empty, half full type perspective in life? Do you seek out the small joys and the simple things in life? Do you always try and look for something to be grateful, even in the hardest days? Things like that. The C, I think, is also a huge piece of this, meaning choosing care and clarity over chaos and confusion, which for me, a huge piece has been self-care. I think that goes leaps and bounds in allowing ourselves to be able to do these hard things. I used not to be the greatest at it, self-admitted, but going through grief over the last 5.5 years, I've kind of had to accept that if I want to be able to do what I have to do, I got to take care of myself too. I can't just always ignore what I need and put it off forever and be busy with everything else and then just let myself get run down. So I'm a huge advocate of self-care, and that's like a whole, I feel like all of these can be little conversations within themselves. So, and we could talk about them forever probably, but that's a huge piece of my process. And then the last one, the E of grace, is what I would call equipped, being essentially equipped through gathering whatever resources or things you might need to help you through your journey. It could be a myriad of things we could be talking about. Now, let me say before I say this next statement, I'm not a financial advisor, but it could be working out your finances. It could be legal things. It could be your support system. It could be how you care for yourself. That could be an asset as well. So just whatever resources that you feel like you need, that's going to help you to keep traveling. I mean, think about it. When you go on a fun adventure with friends or family, a road trip, right? You're not going to get in that car or get to wherever you're going without a plane ticket or gasoline in your car, right? You need that stuff for that trip to go. You probably want snacks. You probably want, your clothes. Let's hope you want your clothes. unless you're going to like a nudist colony. If that's your thing, go for it. But the point is, you want things for that trip, right? To prepare you. So life's no different. Whenever we're traveling our life's journey, when we come across things, we need things to help us do those hard things, right? So let's be essentially equipped so we can keep traveling this journey and striving to thrive. So that's my process, the 5 steps of finding grace through grief in life.
Once again, listen to I'm Refocused Radio, talking to Michaela S. And you can go to her website, myheartfeltmeditations.com. That's myheartfeltmeditations.com. Back to today's topic that we are exploring. That is basically just overcoming motivation, empowering. When you have seen so much difficulty, I mean, I think a lot of people have their own burdens, there are special burdens that are unique to them and their situation. You did mention about faith and all these different things that helped you along the way. When the times got difficult, how was it getting out of those dark spaces? What were some of the things that you were practicing doing so that you can, one, not give up, and 2, just stay motivated to keep living the best life you possibly can live?
Well, I knew I had to do what I had to do. Like, even as early as a child and an adolescent with my disability, I've never really taken the road of I can give up. I've always believed in never quitting, never stopping, never giving up, always persevering, being determined, and like, for lack of a better term, the expression of hold my beer and sit back and watch.
Yeah.
I don't do no very easily. Okay, y'all. That's pretty much, you tell me no, that pretty much means I'm going to stand up and show you what for and prove you wrong, for better or for worse, depending on who I'm talking to. But for me personally, a lot of prayer, a lot of meditation, relying on my faith, my church, my friends. I am a huge proponent of counseling. I have no shame. I have no problem. I have been in therapy for a very long time working on all this stuff. It helps me. I think it's great. It gives me a space to focus on me for a couple hours and then, go on about my business and knock stuff out and think through things so that I can have a healthy mindset, and having a healthy mindset, I can stay on track to accomplish all these things, and stay in that positive direction. I journal a lot, and those are my private writings, not necessarily what goes out into the world, but just for me. I feel like time with friends is very uplifting. Self-care, as I've talked about. So it's kind of a variety of things, Oh, I'm a huge music person. Because of my vision, I take the world in through hearing, through auditorial. So ironic, although I'm a writer, I don't really read a lot, or at least physically read a lot. It's very difficult for me to physically enjoy reading an actual book. I love reading, don't get me wrong. I just have to do it through audio or have people read to me. It's not a question of not wanting to read. I just have to, 9 times out of 10, because of my vision, I usually have to do things a very different way than most people. And usually if you saw me in everyday life, you could just about bet that if I'm doing something a certain way, it has everything to do with accommodating and getting around my disability. But so I take in the world through sound. So music has always been a very important part of my life, and I love it. And I don't play. I don't claim to be a musician or anything like that. I just have a deep love and passion and interest in it. And so a lot of times music is very profound and very influential in my life, and it can help me think through things. And so I rely on that a lot, and I enjoy music. So that's one thing I do as well. So
is there a particular artist or genre of music that you like listening to?
Oh, there's so many. I have a very eclectic, diverse taste in music. Usually, generally speaking, if you came to my house, though, you would probably find it. I would have classic rock going or contemporary Christian going on in the background, unless I'm watching Hamilton. I'm a huge Hamilton buff, which goes into politics and history. But no, I like classic rock a lot, and I like Christian, and each of those genres, I have a very long list of favorite artists. So that could probably take up 30 minutes right there.
You're using your platform to inspire people. When it comes to your kids, how have y'all relationship grown closer throughout the years? And what are some of the things that you try to teach them while you see them grow up?
I think we're pretty close. I mean, they're still young. I mean, they're not as young as they were 5 years ago when their dad died and my husband died, but they were 6 and 3 at the time. So now they're like 12 and 9. So yes, I have a middle schooler. I'm like, okay, Lord, help me. Um, challenging ages, right? They're good kids. I mean, I love them, obviously. I just teach them what I believe to be true and what I think is important for life, which is actually one of the series I wrote. It's called Before the Clock Strikes Midnight, and it's written to my kids. It's not a kid's book, but it's all these lessons I've learned that I hope that when they start out on their own journey in life, they'll take with them to guide them. And I think it's a good thing for parents or guardians of kids or grandparents, like really think about what do we want to instill in our children, the legacy we want to give them to take with them as they go in life. But I mean, I'm just doing the best I can, doing what I think is right and showing them what I believe and what I think is important for life and trying to live that out. People have asked me before, like, do you think they know what it is to overcome? They don't have my disability. It's not genetic, thank God, thank you, Lord. And they've not been old enough to get married and divorced or anything like that. So that's not a part of their lives. But I still have both my parents. So even though I am going on this journey with them through grief, it's a different side of grief when you lose a spouse versus, I would imagine, when you lose a parent, especially early in life. So while we relate to each other, because it's still all grief and we as a family are going through that, theirs is going to be different from mine because they lost their father, I lost a husband, but it's still the same, but yet different. And so I've just tried to always let them know that I'm here for them. This is a safe space. Anything they want to talk about is on the table. And it's always okay to talk about those things. And those conversations will always be welcomed and accepted and open. And I'm here for them. And that you can feel your emotions and your feelings, but you have to do it in a way that is correct in the sense that you have a right to your feelings and you can express them, but we still need to make sure that we're doing it in a way that's healthy and positive, if that makes any sense. And those conversations are always okay with me, and they can know they can come to me, and I hope they always will. And they see what I have to do with the disability. Probably they understand that piece better than most of it because, like, they know mom doesn't drive. Legal blindness and driving don't go together. Not a good idea, right?
Yeah.
So I'm always having to arrange transportation for them. Now I work really hard to make sure that they don't miss out on anything, but they know that. They know if they want to go somewhere, they need to let me know so that I can arrange transportation for them. Hopefully in a few years, my daughter will be driving and that'll make that a little bit easier. But for right now, they know that. They know mommy doesn't see like they do. So they see me working in spite of that and trying to reach my dreams and my goals and still doing what I have to do. So I'm hoping that maybe even if just through action and everyday example, maybe they're picking up a few things that I'm trying to live out.
Once again, listen to On Refocus Radio, talking to Michaela Cox. You can go to her website, myheartfeltmeditations.com. And I had to say this, man, and I hope you take it the right way. You make this look and sound easy when I know it's the exact opposite, and you have a very positive attitude. And I have to ask this question. Why are you so positive and just have this great outlook on life? I mean, you're publishing books, you're doing things that a lot of people who can see won't even, push themselves to do. Like, you really push yourself really hard to accomplish these things. How you're keeping yourself so positive and still find a way to be an inspiration.
Well, thanks for your kind and gracious words. Let me say something before I answer that question. It's not easy. I do make it look easy, but keep in mind, at least for the disability part, I've been doing this every day for 44 years. So it's all I've ever known. It's just what I do. It's me being me, doing what I got to do and handling my business and getting it done. Right. And like I said, I was taught to raise, you don't give up, you don't quit, you don't stop. And so that's just what I've always chosen. It's a choice. I could have taken probably a much easier road and said, screw it, I don't have to do any of this, I'm disabled, I'm not going to. But I didn't want that for my life. So I made the choice to work really hard and do the hard things and make what I want out for my life. Like I said, I'm not defined by my circumstances. I'm defining it and directing my own path, right?
Yeah.
As far as the reason I've chosen to do this is because that's what I was taught to do and what I was raised to believe, that I could do anything I wanted, that if I put my mind to it, and that we don't quit and we don't give up and we don't stop. You do your best, you put your best foot forward and you go after it and you get the job done. as far as from a faith standpoint, obviously, in my background of Christianity, I was put here for a reason. God has given me this life. He's using it for a purpose. And so, if for nothing else, now, may I never know what that purpose is or understand it. I'm not claiming to have all the answers or understand everything. But what I do know is that it can be used. We're given what we're given, and it can be used. So, I'm doing that. I'm fulfilling what I believe that I'm supposed to be doing on this earth with my time here, and fulfilling my calling and using what he's given me in the circumstances I have to hopefully help others and empower others. I mean, yes, I have certain struggles. They're not the same as someone else's anymore as someone else's, or the next person's the same as mine. And they all come with their different, I guess, nuances or varying things that impact us all differently. But at the end of the day, it's still a struggle. So while mine may not be the same as someone else's and vice versa, the idea of overcoming and striving to thrive is the same thing, whether it's this struggle or next. If you choose to want to overcome that struggle, you still need to do the same things to do so. So that's why I feel like the lessons that I've learned and what I've shared with you today in your audience, and the steps that I've taken, like when we were talking through the 5 steps of finding grace through grief in life, those are applicable to just about anyone, because those things will help anyone in any struggle, no matter what they're doing, if they choose to.
Like I said, it's really cool to see someone just have that positive mindset, because in this world there's so many things that people can look at and say, you know what, that's the reason why I won't be able to do this or do that, or that's the reason why I'm a just give up because it's too hard. And just to hear you speak and the things you've been able to do is, I must say, man, it's just awesome. It's really awesome. And it's an inspiration to me personally, because so many times we can look at life in a wrong perspective until someone comes in and say, hey, what are you tripping about?
Yeah.
Go for it. And that's what I'm hearing from you. And I think that's a great feeling, and that's something that's needed in this world. So hope you keep doing what you're doing, because it is making a positive impact.
Not to say that sometimes when we do come up with these hard steps, we have to take a beat. We do have to stop and take that breath and go, whoa, wait a minute, what's going on here? Let me figure this out. And it may take 5 minutes, or depending on how hard the circumstances, it may take you longer, and that's fine. But at the end of that time, you have to decide, am I going to stay here, or am I going to try and figure it out and do the next thing? So I'm not saying this is easy.
Yeah.
I'm not mitigating or negating what someone's going through. In no ways ever will I say that. Because it's definitely, there are tough days. And then you got to figure out, when those tough days come, what do you want out of life? What do you want to create for your life? And that's when you decide, and then you make the decision to do this or that, A or B, so.
Yeah, I like what you said earlier about the choices. If you take a look back, you will see the series of choices that leads you to where you are right now. And I think that's very true. There's a quote by Blaise Pascal. I read it when I was in high school, and I still read it to this date. He said, in faith, there's enough light for those who want to see, but also enough shadows to blind those who don't. It's kind of like we said earlier. It's like, if you think you can, well, then there's hope. If you think you can't, well, you already made your choice. Right.
Good quote.
Appreciate that. Man, once again, talking to Michaela S. You go to her website, myheartfeltmeditations.com. Today, we've been talking all about overcoming, empowering, motivation, and inspiration. First and foremost, man, what call to action do you want our audience to do? Obviously, get your books on Amazon, but is there anything else that you would want our audience to do?
Yeah, I would love for y'all to go check out what I do and post a review of what you think. But as far as life goes, all we can do is, we get one life, right? We get one shot at this life, this journey, this crazy, amazing thing we call life. So take your shot, choose to always define it for yourself, not be defined by your circumstances, so that you can strive to thrive and live the life you want and make it the best life possible for you.
That's awesome. Once again, talking to Michaela Cox. You will never, ever forget this episode. I hope you don't. I hope this is an inspiration. Hopefully you get up and go. We've been talking about her journey to 38 triple D, long life disability, divorce, and death of a beloved husband. But she overcame it. She kept a positive mindset. She kept her faith. And she's here today to share her story. So once again, I want to say thank you, Michaela, taking time in your schedule, talking to I Am Refocused Radio.
I appreciate the opportunity, and I hope that y'all have enjoyed it and that I was able to add something of value.
Hey, it's Shamai Reed with I Am Refocused Radio. Make sure you go to IamRefocusedRadio.com to listen to today's episode. Once again, like we always say, keep God first, stay focused, and peace.